Well, good morning. As you are walking in to join us for worship this morning, my name is Chad Shookman. I'm the Director of Youth Ministries. They only let me do stuff that involves games and activities because that's about the only thing they know that I'm good at. So today, how many of you like carnival games or like midway games when you go to like amusement parks? Question, are those games designed to help you win? No, they're just money grab, right? Well, we've got an idea. We've decided somebody told me this the other day. Like they're a big fan of win-win or no deal, right? So we were playing golf with this guy. So I'm a big fan of win-win or no deal. So I've got a win-win or you're just going to win today. And here's how it works. I have up here there were 1,225 suckers in this board here, and we need some people to come up and grab a sucker. Now, here's the deal. No matter what, you get to walk away with a sucker. But if you pull a sucker out that has a pink piece of duct tape on it, and there's 59 of them in here, then you also get to leave with a $10 gift card to your choice of a food place or a coffee place. So please come on up. You don't have to be a kid. You can be a kid. Dowds. Look at the Dowds. They're all wearing like matching We Kid shirts today. If it's pink, you get a choice. And you only get to pick one, thief. All right, you only get to pick one, but if you pick one that's got pink on it, show it to me. It's okay. You still get a sucker, so we're going to call that a win. Once we get to 5, because I started with 6 prizes this morning, and only one person won the first service. But once we get to 5, we're going to go, or when the time runs out, we've got 1.5 minutes until, keep coming up, grab a sucker. There's 1,200 of them in there. That means about 1 in every 50 should be a winner. There's at least that many, or 2 or 3. It's okay. It's all right. Oh, there we go. Do you want food or coffee? Food or coffee? Food is always good. There you go, $10 to McDonald's. All right, keep going. I've got 5 more gift cards over here. Keep going. Pink wins. Pink wins. Sucker is good. So pick your favorite flavor. Oh, food or coffee? You want to okay, there you go. McDonald's. All right, keep going. We got a couple more. We got to get a couple more. Look at this. Wow, I love this. Everybody needs suckers. This is good because Leandra's preaching today, and when you suck on a sucker, it helps you focus and pay attention and learn more. So we should definitely, there's enough for everybody. We're going to run out of time. We've got about 30 more seconds, so grab one quick and walk away. Grab one quick and walk away. And if you haven't got up to get a sucker, you can just grab one on your way out the door today. No pink. Only one. Corey, only one. Corey, only one. Corey, only one. Oh, we've got a winner. Coffee? All right, here's a $10 to the Beanery for you. Oh, coffee or food? Coffee. There you go, $10 to the Beanery. I got 2 more. If you haven't got up yet, now you have to stay seated. But if you're standing in line, just come up and grab one. Come up and grab it. The last 2 cards, who's going to get them? Who's going to get them? If you want, nope, that's not it. You got to get, I think there's a lot of them down low. A lot of winners down low still. Or you can still grab high and take your chance. Nope, a lot of winners are down low. All right, here we go. The last 3. 1. Nope, sorry. 2. All right, so raise your hand if you were a winner just now. Corey, here you go, Corey. Coffee or, that's like Corey's 6th sucker. You want coffee or McDonald's, Corey? All right, that's what I thought. There you go. Raise your hand if you were a winner. All right, now raise your hand if you were a big fat failure in this game. Yeah, see, that's what we're talking about failure today. It's okay to fail. Speaking of fail, we've got the band coming forward.
Nope, just me.
Oh, so it's Dick Van Dyke today from Mary Poppins?
Exactly.
Yeah, all right, well, we've got the one-man band of Jimmy standing or sitting over here. So if you want to, go ahead and stand and join in. And Jimmy's going to need your help with this song since he's all alone up here.
Well, welcome to the Water's Edge. We're glad you're here worshiping with us. I invite you all to sing along. And there's some actions during the chorus here. So if you don't know them, please look around. Somebody does. I know for a fact Elliot up here does. So Elliot, this one's for you. my troubled sea. In the silence you won't let go. In the questions your truth will hold. Your great love will lead me through. You are the peace in my troubled sea. You are the peace in my troubled sea. All right, sing it out now. My lighthouse, shining in the darkness, I will follow you. Oh, my lighthouse, I will trust the promise. You will carry me safe to shore. Safe to shore. Safe to shore. Safe to shore. I'm gonna need you to sing along. I'm about at max capacity up here. And if you ever want to see what a face looks like when it's really concentrating, look at that. I won't fear what tomorrow brings. With each morning I'll rise and sing. My God's love will lead me through. You are the peace in my troubled sea. You are the peace in my troubled sea. My lighthouse, shining in the darkness, I will follow you. Oh, my lighthouse, I will trust the promise. You will carry me safe to shore. Safe to shore. Safe to shore. Fire before us, you're the brightest. You will lead us through the storm. Fire before us, you're the brightest. You will lead us through the storm. Fire before us, you're the brightest. You will lead us through the storm. Fire before us, you're the brightest. You will lead us through the storm. My lighthouse, shining in the darkness, I will follow you. Oh, my lighthouse, I will trust the promise. You will carry me safe to shore. Safe to shore. Safe to shore. Safe to shore. Thank you. Thank you. Thanks for singing along. You may be seated.
So I'm Craig Finstead, one of the pastors here at the Water's Edge. You saw the video, and the video was, just Sunday last week, and it's really like our donations that, make Sundays like that possible. It was just a great day with all the kids being here, the meal that we got to share together afterwards. I sent out a letter a couple weeks ago to give the mid-year financial update, and it's just very strong, as it always is, and it's because of your generosity. We're above budget on our giving, and we're above last year, and we need to be both those as our ministries expand. So thank you for your generosity. There's various ways to give. You can, give in the offering boxes here. About half of our income comes in through EFTs. About 15% of it is going to be online. There's ways to text to give. You can mail to the office as well. So I just am very, very grateful for your generosity. You make ministry happen at the Water's Edge, and it wouldn't happen without your generosity. So thank you for that. I'm Craig Finstead, one of the pastors here. We have Twinkie the Clown up here with me on Fun Week. I've never done announcements with a clown before. I have done them with Chad a number of times, but never a clown. So Twinkie, welcome. Thank you for being here. So starting point, for those of you who are new, we got a few things. Even if it's your first Sunday or if you're kind of new, right after church today, we do have starting point. That'll be immediately following this service. So just as you leave this room, head to the left. It'll be obvious where you should go at that point. But we have a lunch. All those of us on the staff will be there to get to know you, hear your stories. You'll learn a little bit about us, a little bit about the church. So really want to encourage you to come. It would be really, really cool. You think that's a good deal, Twinkie? So enough. That means enough hiding from us. Go to starting point. So the next thing is baptism. Baptism class is going to be Tuesday night at 6:30. So if you're fairly new and your kids haven't been baptized, or if you're an adult and you haven't been baptized, or you don't remember being baptized, I'd encourage you to come to baptism class. It's a way to get to know other people. It's a way to learn about baptism. So you can register for that one online. The third one we have for new people or fairly new people is going to be our membership class. It's called We Explore. That one's going to be next Tuesday night. It doesn't mean that you have to be a member if you go. It means that you get to learn a little bit about who we are as a church. And really the most important thing is how you get plugged in, how you take the next steps here at the Water's Edge. So we have a partnership with Miller Park Elementary. And I feel like someone's right behind me for some reason. And we've done some really cool stuff. And I want to talk about one of the really cool things, and this is generosity. So during VBS this summer, our kids gave over $5,000. If you're gonna do the hair, do like the 1920s matinee idol swept over haircut. I've always wanted that one. So we're gonna watch a really cool video of what happened. Is it raining in here, or is it just me? You guys want to hear a really funny story that's unrelated to the announcements? I was here, there was a group filming some videos that I was in on Friday, and I had this like really old 100,000-mile 2009 convertible, and I had the top down. Left the top down, and does anyone remember what happened when it was on Friday? It was raining, so all of a sudden I'm shooting this video, and I'm like, oh, I gotta go. It's raining outside, and I got a convertible. So that reminded me of the rain thing. Don't cut though. There's not much left, especially in these two areas right here. So here's what happened to the $5,000. This is awesome stuff here.
It's like Christmas!
Moses, Lavana, it's Baby Mike Senior.
Thank you, we kids!
Yeah, so the school is just elated with all your support so far. Last week, we asked you all to sponsor 27 of the, well, there's 27 teachers at Miller Park Elementary, and we asked you to sponsor all 27 of them, and you did. So this week, we're asking that the schools ask us to do the paraprofessionals as well. So there's 11 of them. 3 of them already have been sponsored. If you want to sponsor a paraprofessional, and what you're doing is you're helping a school employee be successful. in educating the kids in an area where the kids really need education. Just email Leandra at weomaha.com. There's one more way to serve there. On September 10th, we're having another serving day. It's a great way to get to know the area. It's a great way to get to know other people at the Water's Edge. So you can register for that one online. They're always on Saturdays, always from 9 o'clock to noon. So we're going to announce the results of our offering. So last week, Morgan Coyle was here. Morgan is as good as they come. She grew up here in the church. She went to Russell. She went to Millard West. She ended up going to college down in Kansas City at Rockhurst. And for the last 3 years, she's been our missionary down in Nicaragua with Amigos for Christ. This is a great organization. We've checked them out, and they're just like top-notch as far as their financial integrity. They share the love of Jesus with people in Nicaragua. They help them with clean water, with agriculture, with things that are just going to make the country better. So I need 5 volunteers to help me announce the results. You can come on up. That's cool. We got 2 over there. Need 2 more. Got 1 back there. Come on up. And Leo, I'm going to volunteer you as well, so come on up. So I'm going to give you all a number, so just take a number, stand in front of me. So the middle person's here. I need 2 people over here and 2 people over there. So just take like a random number, and you guys can be a team together. Awesome. So you're going to have 1, and you're going to have 1, and I'm going to give you 1. So I need you to stand in a straight line right here. All right? So hold the numbers up high so everybody can see them. Leo, let's go back up to the top step. All right, so now what I need is, have you guys ever watched The Price is Right before? Where like you have to like move the numbers around until you get it right? So I need 1 volunteer who's willing to play the game, and there is a big prize for this. So yeah, Liz, let's have you come up. You can do this. This is cool. You can bring the baby too. Here we go. All right, so Liz, where are you from? No, I was just teasing. Liz is Jimmy, the worship leader. That's Jimmy's wife, and John, the other one's her dad. So we're glad you're here, and the baby's here. So here was the goal. I'm going to give you some context, and then you can take a guess. And I'm going to give you probably like 3 chances. So what we were trying to do is we were trying to build 5 bathrooms. It was $1,200 a bathroom, so that would be $6,000. And then Morgan had $4,000 of support that hadn't been raised for the year. So we are trying to raise $10,000 total. So you're going to have to, these are just random numbers, so you can tell whoever to move where.
Ooh. Okay. I'm going to have 1, 1, 1. So can you come over here?
So 1, 1.
And then can you 2 switch?
So 1, 1, 5, 4, 0. So crowd, how do you think she did? Okay, you're wrong. So let me see which numbers you got right. You have the 0 right.
Oh, perfect.
So, all right, another chance. You guys can help her out. Come on.
Only the 0's right?
Yeah, only the 0's right.
Okay, how about 4? Careful on those stairs. 4, 5. 5. Okay, next is 5. Okay.
All right, so kids, raise them up high. So the goal was $10,000. How do you think she did? So Leo, you're not very confident. All right, she is right. Y'all killed it on this. So Liz, we have a prize for you. So y'all, you can sit down. And Liz, the prize if you would have lost would have been a year. The consolation prize would have been a year of babysitting by all of us. Otherwise, you did win the grand prize. And it's a toilet bowl coffee mug. So enjoy that.
Jimmy will love this.
Thank you. Now, so I want you to watch Morgan's video, and she wants to say thank you.
Hey, Water's Edge family. Morgan here, back in Nicaragua, and I'm just at an awe for words, you guys. What a gift it was to be able to come back home and share with you guys a little bit about what we're doing here in Nicaragua, and just to be received so warmly with Kristen and Danny. And once again, I am just blown away by the church's generosity. It's a little bit emotional for me how cool it was to bring my Amigos family together with the Water's Edge family and see you guys just be so incredibly kind and generous to all of the families here in Nicaragua. You guys blew our expectations completely out of the water, and you are going to be able to build not just 5 bathrooms, but 38 modern bathrooms to change the lives of families living here in Nicaragua forever, to change what health looks like for them and their families. It's just so incredible, and I can't wait to share that impact with you guys, to share what those families have to say. And for the mission trip that's coming, I just can't wait to connect you directly with those families. Thank you guys for loving me so well, for loving Amigos for Christ so well, and for loving the families living here in rural Chinandega. Love you guys.
Yeah, that's cool. So I've been here for 16 years, and this is by far the most astounding offering we've ever taken. I remember I talked to her Thursday before the Sunday, so just like 10 days ago, and I was like, okay, I think we can probably do like all 5 bathrooms, and I'll take care of your support for the year. And I was really, seriously, I was thinking I was probably going to have to call a few people after the Sunday, and last Sunday I said, a few of you are going to have to do the whole bathroom, and the rest of you are going to have to, do something. And so we had 2 families that bought all 5 bathrooms. We had 2 people that just worship exclusively online. They live out of state. They did the bathrooms. And then 19 of our people here on Sunday mornings did a whole bathroom. And the rest of the congregation was still very generous. This just blew my mind, and it was just such a blessing to Morgan. And when I got to talk to her on Friday, I told her this, and she was just obviously stunned, as I was, as the money just kept coming in. And she just said, this just comes at the perfect time. We have all this need. We have the people resources. We just don't have the money. And these bathrooms are not for convenience. These are for sanitation. So it's just people get to go to, use the bathroom facilities in a clean facility instead of one where they can catch diseases. And you guys just made a global impact. That is absolutely amazing, 38 bathrooms. So thank you. All right, it's also amazing when we get to stand and sing and worship God. So as you're able to, please do that. And the band is here to lead us in worship.
Worship the God who is. We worship the God who evermore will be. He opened the prison doors. He parted the raging sea. Our God, He holds a victory. There's joy in the house of the Lord. There's joy in the house of the Lord today. We won't be quiet. Shout out your praise. Surely in this place, we won't be quiet. Shout out your praise. Shout out your praise. We were the beggars, now we're royalty. We were the prisoners, now we're running free. We were forgiven, accepted, redeemed by His grace. Let the house of the Lord sing praise. We were the beggars, now we're royalty. We were the prisoners, now we're running free. We are forgiven, accepted, redeemed by His grace. Let the house of the Lord sing praise. There's joy in the house of the Lord. There's joy in the house of the Lord today. And we won't be quiet. We shout out your praise. There's joy in the house of the Lord. Our God is surely in this place. We won't be quiet. We shout out your praise. There's joy in the house of the Lord. There's joy in the house of the Lord today. We won't be quiet. We shout out your praise. There's joy in the house of the Lord. Our God is surely in this place. We won't be quiet. We shout out your praise. Shout out your praise. Shout out your praise. Shout out your praise.
Thank you.
Guest drummer Nick Blumenthal with us today. I'm sorry, I forgot to introduce you at the 9 o'clock service. Nick's from Faith Westwood, used to play with Jeff and I in the Flock back in the 90s. So he doesn't look that old, but he is. His hair is thinning a little bit on top, so sorry. Yeah, not much left. Thanks. Welcome to the club, bud. There's revival, and it's spreading like a wildfire in my heart. Sunday morning, hallelujah, and it's lasting all week long. Can you hear it? Can you feel it? It's the rhythm of a gospel song. Oh, once you choose it, you can lose it. There ain't nothing gonna steal my joy. I got an old church choir singing in my soul. I got a sweet salvation and it's beautiful. I got a heart overflowing 'cause I've been restored. There ain't nothing gonna steal my joy. There ain't nothing gonna steal my joy. In the valley that I wander, turn to mountains that I can't climb. Oh, you are with me, never leave me, 'cause there ain't nothing gonna steal my joy. I got an old church choir singing in my soul. I got a sweet salvation that's beautiful. I got a heart overflowing 'cause I've been restored. There ain't nothing gonna steal my joy. No, there ain't nothing gonna steal my joy. Clap your hands and stomp your feet till you find that gospel beat. 'Cause it's all you'll ever need. All you'll ever need. Clap your hands and stomp your feet till you find that gospel beat. 'Cause it's all you'll ever need. All you'll ever need. I got an old church choir singing in my soul. I got a sweet salvation and it's beautiful. I've got an old church choir singing in my soul. I've got a sweet salvation and it's beautiful. I've got a heart overflowing 'cause I've been redeemed. I'm about worn out now. We got one more to go, though. We'll be okay. We'll be okay.
We got it.
Yeah. If you want to see real joy, just watch Jimmy on this song because he likes the blues just a little bit.
Playing the blues keeps you from getting the blues.
You are God of the heavens and God of the earth. You are God of our Savior's virgin birth. You were God on the cross and God over there. You were God before man and God when he fell. You are God. You are God, God, God. You are God. You are God, God, God. You are God in what seems like happenstance. You are God in every circumstance. You are God when we fall and God when we stand. You are God who holds us in your hand. Sing with us on the chorus because it's only 3 words. You are God. You are God, God, God. You are God. You are God, God, God. You are God. You are God, God, God. You are God. You are God, God, God.
Na na
Nice. Thank you for worshiping with us. You may be seated.
Well, good morning, church. As you may have noticed already, we are doing Fun Month this month. So because it's Fun Month, I brought some props up here with me. So if you can't tell, this is actually a stick of cotton candy. It's really hard to do. This is actually a pretty good attempt. I have cotton candy, I have a baby bottle, and then we have the cross. So who in here knows what cotton candy, a baby bottle, and the cross all have in common? Can't say if you were at 9 o'clock. What do they have in common? That's true. It's not what I was going for. God made them. That's a good guess. So I guess the rest of you, you're just going to have to listen to my whole sermon to figure it out. So stay tuned. So today we're actually talking about failure. That's why Craig asked me to preach. I have the most experience. And I'm guessing when you hear that, like some of you are wondering, well, what does failure have to do with Fun Month? Why would failure be a topic? Failure's not fun. But I would argue that a lot of times failure can be fun. And to prove my point, if failure is not fun at all, then why is every golf course in Omaha packed every weekend? People pay to do that. It has to be a little bit fun. And I've been golfing with some of you, so I know there's failure involved. And you still choose to spend your Saturday doing this for like 4 hours. But, when I go golfing, so like on a really, really good day, like my best day, I would probably shoot close to 100. And in my experience, 80 of those shots would probably be considered failures. And then 20 would probably that actually went where I was aiming. So it was 80% failure, but we do this for fun. And I remember when I was first starting to learn to golf and first going out there, it was even more failure than that. And competitiveness and perfectionism is not a good recipe on the golf course because I was just miserable to go golfing with. I did not handle the failure well. I would get really frustrated. I would get angry. I would let one bad shot lead to another bad shot. You can ask my golf partner. I was not very fun to golf with. And I would get so frustrated that 3 holes in, Sam would just be ready to send me home so that he could enjoy the rest of the round without me. But I didn't handle failure well, so what should have been a fun activity was actually just miserable. I would get so annoyed, and one time we got paired up with someone, so sometimes you get paired up with random people and you have to golf with these strangers, and we got paired up with someone once, and he had a way better perspective on failure than me. Even though he hit some bad shots too, he kept a positive attitude the whole time, and he taught us about this term. It's called the son-in-law shot. Has anyone heard of the son-in-law shot? Sam, you don't count. Has anyone heard of this? Golfers? I think this guy invented it. No one at 9 o'clock knew either. So basically, he said whenever he would hit a shot that wasn't very good, he would just call it the son-in-law shot. And what that means is, it wasn't what I was hoping for, but it's pretty good. And that's what he would say every time. And so I said, that's the mindset. I need to just embrace the failure. You know what? It wasn't what I was hoping for, but it's good enough. I don't have a son-in-law. If I have a daughter-in-law someday, I probably won't say that to her. I think it works better for son-in-laws. But he had this perspective, and I realized, the people that have learned to embrace failure, that can still have fun, that can laugh at themselves, that aren't afraid of failure and will try new things anyway, they have a lot more fun than those of us that really struggle with failure. Those people, they get to go on more adventures, they get to try new things. And I think at the end of the day, people who aren't afraid of failure and can embrace it, at the end of the day, they actually have more success because they're willing to try and try and try again, where those of us that struggle with failure are quick to quit and give up. So I realized if we spend our whole life trying to avoid failure, we're going to end up avoiding a lot of the fun too. Because if we're going to spend our whole life trying to avoid failure, we'll never get to go golfing. We'll never get to try new things. We'll never get to learn a new skill because we'll be trying to avoid failure. And I realized that even this morning. So has anyone ever tried to make cotton candy in the machine? It's hard, right? It looks easy. It's not. This is an art form. So this is my 15th attempt, and this is the best I've done. This is pretty good. It's really, really hard to do, but it's still fun. And even if it looks bad, kind of like this, it's still warm sugar. So it's still delicious, even if you mess it up. So as you leave here today, you might have noticed on your way in, when you leave here today, you're going to have a choice. You can either avoid failure and skip the cotton candy and just go home and have a salad or something, or You can risk the possibility of failure. You can try and make cotton candy. I watched the 9 o'clock people. I'd say there's about a 95% chance you'll experience failure. But at the end of the day, you'll still have cotton candy. So that's an opportunity you guys will all have to make after this service. And today we're going to look at Peter in the Bible. And unfortunately for Peter, he's probably the disciple that has the most public failures that we've seen. And the really unfortunate part for him is most of his failures were written down, and then they were put in the best-selling book of all time. So a lot of people know all of his failures, and we're going to look at just one. We don't have time to go through all of them. There's too many. But we're going to look at one in Matthew 14, and this is probably one of his most famous failures. But Jesus is teaching. He's teaching at the water's edge, and it's getting late. So he tells the disciples, why don't you just get in the boat and head across to the next town? I'm going to finish up here, and I'll meet you over there. So the disciples get out on a boat, and they head out. They leave Jesus at the shore, and on that trip, there's a storm, it's windy, it's rainy, there's huge waves. The disciples are getting nervous, and they go out and look, and they see this like ghost-like figure walking out on the water towards them. And as it gets closer, they're like, I think that's Jesus. He's walking out here. So Peter, always willing to try something new, yells out and says, Lord, if it's really you, tell me to come out there and walk on the water. So Jesus says, yeah, sure, why don't you get out? So Peter, he goes over to the side of the boat, and he steps over. I'm sure he had no idea what was going to happen, but he steps over, and all of a sudden he's actually walking on water. And he starts walking towards Jesus. But then he realizes what's happening, and he starts to panic. So he looks down, and he's like, how is this possible? He sees all the waves. He hears the wind. He starts to get scared, and he starts to sink. And he yells out to Jesus, save me, Lord. Reaches out his hand. And I've read this story, multiple times. I've heard this story. When I read it this week, I started to wonder, when Peter and Jesus and everyone got back in the boat, did Peter think that that was a success or a failure? Because he got out, he walked on the water, but he started to sink, and Jesus had to save him. So did he get in and be like, wow, that was amazing? Or was he like, oh my gosh, I just failed in front of everybody? And then I wonder what the other disciples, the ones that didn't get in the boat, when they got back in, were they like, wow, Peter, that was embarrassing, you almost drowned? Or were they jealous that he just got to do something really cool? And then I started to wonder, I wonder what Jesus thought. Was Jesus, did he view that as a success for Peter? Or was he disappointed in Peter because he failed, he didn't have enough faith, and he started to sink? Because I've realized that failure is not a person. If someone's called you a failure, or if you've called yourself a failure, it's not true. Failure is not a person, but failure is also not even really an event. Failure is a judgment that we make about an event. So when I hit a bad shot into the woods and I get frustrated and call it a failure, my partner hits it in the woods and just calls it a son-in-law shot and keeps playing and having fun. We both get to make a judgment on whether that was a success or failure. So I wonder, as Peter got back into the boat, what did everyone think? Did they think failure or success? Because you could see it going both ways. You could see people being like, oh my gosh, you got to walk on water. That's amazing. That's a success. But you could also see some people being like, yeah, but he sank at the end. That's a failure. That's embarrassing. So my second item up here is a baby bottle. We have hundreds of these at our house these days. But as a new parent, one thing I did not know about this is that babies don't just know how to drink out of a bottle. I thought they just knew because they were babies. You actually have to teach them how to use it, and some just pick it up and are naturals, and then some, named Nolan Essler, are not good at it. And it takes a lot of work to teach them. And I remember, at one point, this was the most frustrating item in our house. You remember every single night we'd come home and we'd be like, we have to teach him how to use a bottle because he was going to daycare soon. He was going to starve if he couldn't figure this out. I'm like, he has to learn. And so we would try, and he would kick and scream and refuse, and he would not eat it. He would cry until he passed out before he would eat out of this. And we just could not do it. And every night we tried again, and every night it was the same thing, and we would all get frustrated and angry, and we would go to bed. And then I'd be like, all right, next day, bottle time again, here we go. And it just went on that for weeks. We tried different bottles, we tried different positions, we just could not figure it out. And we were getting really frustrated, and all of a sudden it was time to come back from maternity leave, and I had to go to daycare, and like I dropped him off, and I was like, I hope he eats today. He still wasn't very good at it, and I was like, do I tell his teachers that he's not good at it, or do I just let them figure it out? They'll figure it out soon. But I was like embarrassed to tell them, we've been trying to teach him how to do a bottle, but we haven't figured it out, because it seemed like for every other parent, it just was easy. I didn't think that it would be so hard. So I was embarrassed to go in and tell the teacher, like, our baby can't drink from the bottle. We can't figure it out. In those first few weeks, it was like hit or miss. Some days he would do okay. Some days he would like try, but he wouldn't drink any milk. Some days he would try and it would like flood all over and spill everywhere. We just could not figure this out. And it was just failure after failure after failure. And I remember one day I was at home and I was washing all the bottles. And as I was washing them, I looked and I was like, how come this lid has a 1 on it and this lid has a 2 on it? And I was like, this third lid just says fast. And that's when Sam and I learned that all the bottles have different flow rates. I took the class on parenting. They did not tell me about flow rates on the bottles. So basically what had happened is sometimes we were using a 1, which is bottles that are for like premature babies. It's the smallest, slowest flow rate, and that's when he wasn't getting any. And then one of ours just said fast, and that's when he was drowning. He was like, well, last time it didn't work, so maybe if I like try really hard, and then it would all come out at once. So once we figured that out, that changed everything, because then, okay, these are different. We need to find the one for him, which turned out to be a 4, by the way. So he had 1, 2, and fast. He was supposed to have a 4. But that started the process of like trying all these different bottles until we found the one that worked for him. And once we got to that point, like every time it didn't work, I didn't see it as a failure anymore. I said, okay, we're one step closer to figuring this out. Another bottle crossed off the list. Tomorrow we try the next one. So it was like this really frustrating process. Now I'm like, okay, this is a learning experience. We're close. Every night that we do this, we're getting closer. And I realized that failure we often think is the opposite of success. Failure is not the opposite of success. Failure is on the path to success. This is how failure often works. Like a lot of times failure, it teaches us something, and then the next time we do it, we fail a little bit less, and the next time we do it, we get a little bit better. And I've tried making cotton candy 15 times now, and this is better than the first time I did it. Because failure is on the path to success, and someday I will be a cotton candy pro if I keep practicing. Failure works like this a lot. This is how failure works with Jesus and the disciples too. So when Peter's on the water and he starts to get scared and he starts to sink and says like, Jesus, save me. Jesus immediately reached out and grabbed his hand and says, you have so little faith. Why did you doubt me? And I think a lot of times when we get to this part in the story, we read it like, you have so little faith. Why did you doubt me? Like we read it as Jesus scolding Peter for messing up. I think that we've added that tone ourselves. I don't know if Jesus said it that way. I think when Jesus said this, it wasn't like scolding and critiquing and punishing Peter. I think it was more like a concerned parent. Like she's like, you're sinking because you have so little faith. Like, why did you doubt me? Why don't you believe in me? He's not punishing him for failing him. He's like treating this as a learning experience, an opportunity to teach Peter something. A lot of times when a kid does something wrong, the parent doesn't always scold them. They say, this is why we don't run with our shoelaces untied. Like, this is what happens. It's a learning opportunity every time they fail. And as we read the Bible, every time we see Peter mess up, we can read that as Jesus scolding him. But as I went back and looked, a lot of the times it's actually Jesus trying to teach him something so that this failure doesn't happen again. I always see Jesus doesn't condemn our failures. He's always building on them. He's always trying to get us one step closer to doing it the right way. And Jesus builds on Peter this whole time. Like, Peter has all these failures, but you can't read Peter's failures without also reading what Jesus says to him in Matthew 16. He says, now I say you are Peter, which means rock, and upon this rock I'm going to build my church. Jesus doesn't condemn all his failures. He builds on them. And as we know, Jesus did not pick the disciple that had the best track record. If anything, he picked the disciple that might have had the worst track record. The disciple that might have failed the most, like Peter gets in trouble for arguing about which disciple is the greatest. I mean, come on, Peter. He sinks when he tries to walk on water. When Jesus tries to wash his feet at the Last Supper, he refuses and tells Jesus he's not allowed to wash his feet. And probably his biggest failure was after Jesus was arrested, Peter denied even knowing him. Peter pretended he'd never heard of this Jesus guy. So when Jesus says this and says, I'm going to build the church on Peter, he did not pick the perfect person. He picked the person with a long history of failure, of pretty big failures too. These are not, minor mess-ups. Denying who Jesus was 3 times when Jesus needed him most. This is the guy Jesus picked to lead the church, and I think he picked him because, not because he was perfect, but because of his failures. Every failure made Peter stronger. Every failure taught Peter something. Every failure made him more equipped to lead the church. So when Peter was arguing about which disciple is the greatest, he learned about humility. And when he started to sink in the lake, he learned about faith. When he refused and didn't let Jesus wash his feet, he learned about service and what it means to serve. And even at the end, the big failure where he denied knowing Jesus, Jesus forgives him after the resurrection, and Peter learns about love. So by the end of the story, after all these failures, Peter is best equipped to lead the church. And I think most importantly, one of the reasons that Jesus picked Peter is because Peter was the one disciple that was willing to step out of the boat. He was the one disciple who says, you know what, I'm going to at least try. All the other disciples just stayed in the boat. As I look at that story, if we step out of the boat, if we take a risk, if we try something new, we might fail. We might fail a few times. But if we always stay in the boat, then we will certainly fail because we won't get to try anything. We won't even take that chance. The boat, it's safe, it's secure, it's comfortable, but the boat is not where the action is. The boat is not where growth happens. The boat is not where we get to try new things. The boat is not where our faith is strengthened. The boat is not where Jesus is. Jesus is out on the water, and he invites us to step out of the boat and go out on the water with him. And Peter was willing to do that because he wasn't afraid of failure. I think he was more afraid of staying in the boat and missing out on something cool with Jesus. And I think back, this is my 4th year here now, and I look back at my first year here, and I think if I'm being honest, I probably stayed in the boat most of that year. I was young, I was new, this is my first job. I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm a pastor now. I don't want to mess up. I want people to think I'm doing a good job. I want them to be impressed. I don't want to fail. So anytime I had an opportunity, I didn't want to do anything that was too risky where I might fail because I wanted people to think I was doing a good job. So if it's like, okay, well, we could try this new thing that we've never done before. Well, I didn't want to try it because I didn't want to fail. I wanted to try, do the tried and true thing that we've always done that I felt was pretty safe, and then maybe people would think I was doing a good job. And so I did that the whole year and, maybe had some success, but now this year I've been intentional saying, you know what, if you have an idea, if there's something new, if there's something we haven't done, just try it. And you might fail, but if you just stay in the boat, you will certainly fail because we will never make any progress. We can never make an impact just staying in the boat. So this year, if I have an idea, I want to just try it. And if no one shows up, we won't do it next year. If I start a new group and, only 5 people come, that's fine because someday I'm going to try a group and maybe 50 people will come. But I'm going to have 0 people if I just stay in the boat and I don't try any groups at all. You're never going to succeed just staying in the boat. You're never going to succeed if you're always afraid of failure. So back to my 3 items. I'm losing my cotton candy here. I learned this morning that cotton candy melts. It does not just stay cotton candy. So I got 3 items here: cotton candy, a baby bottle, and the cross. So who knows now what all 3 of these things have in common? Do you know? You have a guess? What's your guess? What? Failure. Thank you. Everyone at 9 o'clock knew it, but they were too afraid to say. This cotton candy was probably a failure, but you know what? It still tastes delicious. And even though it's melting, I might eat it after this. This bottle, for like weeks of my life, was a total failure, but it was a learning process that eventually became a success. We eventually figured it out, and you're going to have to hear me out on this last one. This isn't usually how we talk about the cross, but really, like, at the time, the cross was a huge failure. When Jesus died at the cross, the disciples did not go around preaching everything Jesus had taught them and telling everyone, just wait 3 days. The disciples went home. They went into hiding. They said, we followed this guy. We thought that something cool was going to happen, and it was a massive failure. After Jesus died, everyone walked away from that disappointed. They were not hopeful. They thought that, Jesus was going to be this king, this savior, and they said, okay, well, it failed. And they all went home. They gave up. And we know the end of the story. We know that 3 years later, Jesus was resurrected and came back, and he turned what was the biggest failure into the greatest success story in the history of humankind. And Jesus is still doing that all the time. The last lesson on failure that Jesus taught his disciples happened on the cross, and what he taught them is that no failure, no matter how big, is final, and no failure is fatal, because Jesus can redeem even our biggest failures. So if there's a failure, you're like, I totally blew it, there's no coming back from this. If there's a mistake or a relationship or something that you broke and you think, you know what, I broke it, it's permanently broken. If you had a dream and it hasn't happened yet and you're giving up on it, you said, I failed, that dream's not going to happen. Jesus is resurrecting relationships and dreams and people's faith all the time. There is no failure that is final. There is no failure that is fatal. That was the last thing Jesus taught us. You thought this was a failure, but it's not. Failure does not get the last word. Jesus does, and the last word was life. The last word was success. The last word was overcoming what everyone thought was failure. Jesus predicted that his disciples were going to fail at the end. He told them this. So in John 16, he says, a time is coming and is in fact here when you will be scattered. And he's talking about after I die, you guys aren't going to have hope. You're all going to go home. You're all going to give up on me. You're all going to go to your house. You're going to leave me alone, but the Father will be with me. And again, Jesus is not scolding them for failing. He's trying to teach them something. Right after this, he says, I've told you these things so that in me you may have peace. He says, in this world you will have trouble. In this world you will fail. In this world you will make mistakes. In this world you will do the wrong thing. Your baby won't be able to figure out how to drink from the bottle. You'll hit a bad golf shot. You'll try and make cotton candy and it won't work. In this world you're going to mess up relationships. You're going to chase dreams that don't feel like they're getting any closer. In this world, you're going to try and follow me, and sometimes you're not going to do a good job. Jesus knew all of that. But he said, take heart, I have overcome the world. He's saying, when I overcome this failure, let it be a reminder forever that I can overcome any failure that you might have. No failure you have is final or fatal. Take heart, I have overcome the world. I can put back together anything that you break. As far away as you get from me, I can always bring you back. Any dream that seems like it's distant, I can bring you closer. So for all of us in here today, and I'm guessing it's all of us because we're all human, if you have a failure that happened in the past or that's currently happening right now that you've let define you or defeat you, we're all together just going to bring that to Jesus, to the cross this morning. So let's go to God and let's pray. God, we come to you this morning admitting that in one way or another we have all failed and experienced failure. And today I just want to lift up every failure that's on someone's heart and mind right now. That relationship that we broke, that mistake that we made, the thing that we tried and failed at, the the ways that we've tried to follow you and have come up short. God, we lift up all these failures this morning to you. We know that you can resurrect our dreams and put our relationships back together and heal our hearts. God, we don't want to hide and be afraid and run from failure, but help us embrace it so that we can better follow you. When we have opportunities to just step out of that boat and we're too afraid that we might fail, God, give us courage. Remind us that failure is not final or fatal. It's part of this. Instead of giving up when we fail, remind us to have perseverance, to keep going. God, whatever failure is weighing us down and keeping us from moving forward, I just ask that you redeem that today. Show us what forgiveness looks like. Show us what grace looks like. Remind us that you are always willing to give us another chance. When we have opportunities that could be fun, help us embrace the failure along the way. We know that you have good things in store for us, and if we hop out of this boat, we might fail, but we'll still be following you. And now, God, as we lift those failures up to you, we join together and pray the prayer that your Son Jesus taught us to pray. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory forever. Amen.
You can stay seated, but I invite you to sing the blessing with us.
Lord bless you and keep you. Make his face shine upon you. Be gracious to you. Lord, turn his face toward you and give you rest.
Let's do that one more time.
Lord bless you and keep you. Make his face shine upon you and be gracious to you. Lord, turn his face toward you and give you rest.
So this blessing that we just sang comes from Scripture Numbers, and I love how it says, "May the good Lord shine his face upon you and be gracious on you." Because even in failure, there's a light that shines upon us and a joy to be found. So our prayer today is that as you go out, you embrace the failure, you embrace that light, and chase the fun that God has for you. Now, as we end our service, if you would please stand and join us as we sing the fun part of our benediction.
May the good Lord shine a light on you. Make every song we sing your favorite tune. May the good Lord shine a light on you. Oh, like the evening sun.
Sing that one more time.
May the good Lord shine a light on you. Make every song you sing your favorite tune. May the good Lord shine a light on you. Warm like the evening sun.
Thank you for worshiping with us. Have a great week. We'll see you next week at the Water's Edge.
May the good Lord